Come live today because I had something on my mind that's just very relevant to what I've been up to this last week in particular, but definitely over the last couple weeks. And I just wanted to come share this concept with you because I think it's important to remember for anyone out there that's a singer, an actor, whatever you might do that's creative. If you've studied voice, if you are studying voice right now, just a reminder that, man, it is a lifelong journey of learning. I tell my students this often, but we are all different. We're all different. So our experiences are going to be different. And for some singers, I think certain aspects of singing come very naturally, right? But if you're anything like me, you've, maybe you have some natural talent, but there's been a lot of work involved. It's not something where you went to your first lesson, you took a note, everything was easy. That has not been my journey. I've had to work a lot to take what was my natural talent and figure out how to develop it and to really understand my instrument, to be able to execute things more effortlessly, more efficiently, with less force, less effort. Because, man, as my teacher used to say, I was a master bullshitter. I'm good at forcing. If I don't know what else to do, I just have a big voice. So I'll just force my way through it and I'll figure it out. Um, and that has called me back to studying a lot over my career and over my many years in LA and my many years taking on new jobs and trying to develop my craft. But it's what keeps me coming back to training, is realizing that I need the training. I need more understanding. I need more reference points. I need more knowledge in order to make this process of being a singer more enjoyable and more fun. So I'm not stressed all the time going into my work and going into my jobs, especially as someone who sings many different styles of music. That's been a huge piece for me. Um, and I think it can be kind of frustrating when you hear stories about. I read Barbara Streisand's book and stories about singers like her that she took one voice lesson in her life, one voice lesson, and that's her talent and her skill level. And I have such an envy for that because that has not been my experience. And I want to say that to other singers. That is not the case for most singers, right? She is kind of an anomaly in that way. Singing is a craft that you can develop, right? It's something that you can actually get better at. There's a reason why people go to 4 years of college to go off and be on Broadway. You can go into a musical theater program to actually train yourself. Now, I didn't do that. I just studied privately, and that was my version of doing that training. um, this is something you can develop and get better at. And most professional singers out there, most of them have trained in some way. Most of them that are out there working day in, day out on major tours, things like that, have coaches, doctors, people they work with, whether it's a speech therapist, whether they go get laryngeal massage, whether they work one on one with a vocal coach, or a singing teacher, whatever you want to call it. Not everyone is Barbara Streisand, right? Not everyone has that skill of just naturally understanding this instrument to that degree. There are tons of people out there that are like that. But I think it's really important for singers to hear that it's also totally normal to be going back to training, to be figuring this stuff out, to be developing this craft, and to actually dig into it deeper and deeper so that you can understand it more and more the more that we learn about voice. That's the other thing, right? So I think on top of that, I always like to say that every person can sing. So when people out there make blanket statements, well, that person can't sing, they're wrong. Not to be a jerk, they are not right about that because anyone can sing, right? Whether you have the most beautiful voice in the world is kind of irrelevant. It does not mean that you cannot sing. There's a lot of singers out there that people would say, well, they don't have a good voice. but they're still a professional singer, which tells us they can sing. It's just their style, it's their take, it's their interpretation. That is what is so beautiful about this instrument, is that it's completely unique to each individual person that might dive in and start to sing. Um, you can break this instrument down in a way that it makes more sense to you as a person. You can work your ear training. You can challenge your habits that might be getting in your way. So, don't let the success of another singer intimidate you into thinking you don't have the ability to develop this skill. It does not mean we're all going to be Celine Dion or Barbara Streisand. It does not mean that, but it doesn't mean you can't develop the skill. And that's the thing, is it's such an important outlet for so many people. um and I think this is the main thing I kind of want to leave you with today, is that how I've moved forward in my career personally is deciding that I will do the work when it arises. When I have something come up that I don't know how to navigate, I will go back to my training. I will go back to learning. I will read a new book. I will take a new class, whatever it means. I'm not going to limit myself from learning more. And I think that's the big thing, is that you have to decide you're willing to put in the work, just like any actor going back to class, going back to a new scene study, working with a new teacher, working with a new coach. When actors get a job, when singers, are going to go in for an important audition, they train for it, they prep for it, they do the work. I remember hearing a great story about Andrew Garfield getting the role in Tick Tick Boom, the film that Lin-Manuel directed. And I remember hearing a story that Lin-Manuel was asking a friend of Andrew's, can Andrew sing? And it was like, well, how long does he have to prepare? A year. Yeah, Andrew can sing. If he's got a year to prepare, he's an actor that will go into that study and he will do the work that it takes to prepare for that role. So if you're a rock singer wanting to learn to do something with your voice, you got to dive in. And if you don't know how to do that work yourself, you got to find the right coach to help guide you towards it. That's my job as a vocal coach. If I'm working with an artist that is going on tour and they already have their natural style, maybe my job is to help them learn to take care of this instrument. Outside of talking about their style, it might have everything to do with teaching them to actually take care of the instrument, to maintain it, what it means to live on a tour bus, what it means to be being in a different city every week and having to take care of your body, take care of your vocal cords, and the whole system of your body that works the vocal cords and works your voice. Um, or if you are, you know, you get cast in a Broadway show and you have a couple weeks to prepare going in. I have a great friend named Alex Pevick that is in Chess on Broadway right now. And I remember talking to him years ago. He had done a production of The Who's Tommy here in LA. And he had told me that before he even started rehearsals, he was working the hell out of that music with his own coach in his own training, so that when he stepped into rehearsals, he already knew the score inside and out. He was playing Tommy, it was a demanding role, right? He did a bunch of work before he went in. And by the way, I don't want to make this sound like Barbara Streisand doesn't do work. Barbara Streisand did a ton of work. She just was the type of singer who intuitively was able to guide her voice in a way that felt very organic and very natural. That's not everyone. You know what I mean? So a lot of us need coaches in that process. I put myself in this group of people. I'm in a place in my life right now where I realize I haven't been in private lessons with anyone in almost 2 decades. I've been teaching that whole time. I've been learning. I've been reading. I've been studying. I'm always studying. But I'm actually excited to get back into my own training and have another teacher that I respect watch me and give me notes. I think I'm at a point in my life about to turn 40 where I need that. I need a little bit more of that. Um, so, with all this said, this is a craft that you can develop. It is something that you can study. Do not stand in your own way. If you continue to give yourself the opportunity to keep exploring, you will find more and more and more to work on. You will find more aspects of this instrument to develop, but it's a very complicated instrument to play. And so it's one of those things where knowledge is power. The more knowledge you get about how it works, the more perspective you get from other people that can uh, guide you, your specific instrument. That's the key, is finding teachers and coaches that can really guide you on the things that you in particular are needing to work on, because we are all different. I might give a lot of students a similar exercise, but the thing that they may be working on within that exercise might be very different. It's our bodies are different, our anatomy is different. You have to understand your own body in order to really control how this instrument is going to come out. And when I say control, I mean have freedom in the process, because singing is also a very physical process and a very emotional process. So we need to figure out how to work the physicality and how to direct our brain so that we can get this instrument. If I'm on Broadway 8 times a week, I need to know how to execute 8 times a week, but I don't want it to feel rigid. I don't want it to feel um, overly controlled. I want it to feel free. I want it to feel joyful. I want it to feel exciting. I don't want to feel as though I'm fighting something when I go on stage, right? I don't want to be having no tools to confront performance anxiety, to confront days where I don't feel 100%. So that's why I'm saying all of this, right? Because most of us train to figure those things out about our voice, about our capabilities, about what is standing in our way. And for any singer out there that feels like they have a couple hurdles that they need to jump in order to get to that next level in their skill set, in their understanding of their voice, you are not alone. That is so true for so many singers. It doesn't matter what level you're at. The people that I know that are Broadway stars, they still continue to train. They still will take new music to coaches that they trust so that they can run it through, so that they can really make their job the most, their experience in singing that music the most efficient, the most free, right? Um, it's a really important thing to realize that that is an ongoing game of development. And I plan to tell you guys more about the experience I've been in. I just had something happen over the last week that's been really eye-opening for me as a singer, but it just makes me realize as I head into my 40th year on this planet that I've been studying voice and learning about voice for 30 years, since I was 10 years old, when I did my first musical and started taking lessons. And my mind can still be so blown by how much more there is to learn. So you are not alone in your need to train. You are not alone if you are feeling like there are things that you don't quite understand. Do not hold yourself back from studying. Do not hold yourself back from learning more, because this is a craft that you develop. You don't just get to wake up and snap your fingers and have it all make sense. It is the most complicated instrument in the world to play. So don't be afraid of studying. Don't be afraid of diving deeper when you don't feel like you understand something. And, that goes for people that are just voice users. Maybe your job requires you to get up and speak. Maybe there are things that you feel going on in your body, but especially for singers that are exploring their voice, exploring their artistry, exploring the different ways that they might be able to use this instrument. There is so much to learn. There is so much to learn. So, with all that said, yep, that's it for today. Develop your singing, develop your craft, keep on learning, keep on seeking out teachers that can help guide you. And I love talking about this. So, anyway, if you have any questions, any comments, any thoughts you want to add, drop it in a comment here and I will happily respond. I hope you're all having a great day. It is hot as heck here in Los Angeles, and I'm going to go do some practice right now.